Welcome to the 80-20 Baseball Podcast. Strike! The 80-20 Coaching Masterclass, our weekly get-together where coaches go from new to good and good to great. Mastering the fundamentals and the art of coaching.
Welcome, baseball community. Welcome, coaches, parents, and I know we got some players that listen to this also. Welcome to this week's episode. We are diving into part 2 of our interview with Scott Swartzbaugh, somebody who has been deeply connected to the sports world for 40 plus years, somebody who coaches CEOs, vice presidents in the business world by day, but comes to us with decades of coaching experience, teams at a wide variety of levels, and having a lot of success throughout. All right, with that said, we're going to dive into part 2 of our interview. We're going to join up about a third of the way through the interview. Let's dive in.
We have something in the corporate world we coach to, and I think coaches have the opportunity. We call it the 70-30 rule. If I'm coaching and I'm doing 70% of the talking, that kid's just hearing me talk. But if I'm suggestively lining, how did everything go out there at second base today? What happened behind the plate? Did you feel like you were in command, how you were calling the pitches? You knew the situations. Remember, you're the defensive quarterback, right? As the catcher, were you engaged? And I think often when we're talking at the players as opposed to with them, now there's always the respect and responsibility that needs to be ingrained within how you coach. Suggestive rhetorical, hey, here's what I observed. I saw some good things out there. I loved your effort. What else did you see? And you're going to learn from where their head's going to help them swizzle. So one of the things I learned as a coach is in the learning is everyone learns differently. You could say a word that means everything to you as a coach, and that kid's like, I don't know what it means. Well, you need to pick the synonyms for 5 different ways to say the same thing. And all of a sudden the kid's light goes off and goes, oh, that's what you meant. Whatever reason, they attach themselves to that word and that differentiation. Work hard, and you might have said hustle, and they're like, I don't know what that hustle means. Why am I work hard to get to first base and run through the base? Oh, okay. I didn't really understand what the word hustle meant, right? A lot of times we assume, and here's a phrase I love to use in all forms of coaching is there's many things that are assumed and not said. And then if we don't say them, the kid can't affirm that they understood. Oh, I gotcha. I totally understand now. So often we'll say like, I keep telling this kid what to do, and it's just not. Remember, they're young kids. A lot of times you could have 7, 8, 9-year-olds. Sometimes when you're getting into adolescence, they're still having maybe processing of information. It could be your tonality is too intense and strong and sounds negative. You may not mean it, but smiling a little bit with these kids is a huge opportunity to deliver that. So anyhow, I'll pass back to you, Bill.
No, that's great. I'll pass it. You bumped it to me. I'll set it back to you, and I'll let you spike the next point.
There we go. Put that ball away. Number 5, find a source of strength outside of yourself, be it religion, nature, the gym, piano, creating a never-ending well to draw from. So in the minute and in the moment of competition, we're not that moment. I know I was talking about some of the teams I've coached recently, and hey guys, you're in the CIF finals or you're in the state finals. Remember, enjoy this moment. Go out and enjoy competition. Don't loathe it. It's not about the coach. It's about you guys collectively coming together and saying, how can we be the best version of ourselves? Use high levels of intellect. I'll give you an example. When I would coach middle blockers, it could be your tailbacks, it could be your shortstops and second base, the middle of the heart of an offense and a defense, in this case, a defense. And giving them the highlights of what the strategy is in different moments so they can attach themselves to what they do in the job of which they're been put to. Hey, I'm going to have you play short this inning. Okay, great. What's your job? Well, I've got to back up the pitcher. There's a throw to the second baseman. I got to back up the second. What is your job? Attaching yourself to success. I had some middle blockers that I would play. And if you know anything about volleyball, they run the offense to the right side of the net. Well, that's where 2 blockers are and two diggers. But if that middle blocker gets set, or quick hitter they're called, and he gets against the green, the right back is a guy named the setter. So my middle blockers, I'd say, what's your goal? He says, well, if they get 2 up, I'm going to turn on that ball and take the setter out. And I said, what happens if the setter digs it? He goes, well, they're still out of system, meaning that it didn't go from the back row to the setter to run a full, complete offense. The same thing can happen in football. You get out of system. Basketball, it's any sport. You can get out of system, meaning that the normal structure of your offensive strategy is now kaplunked. Those middles were never told that. And most middles are never told what their opportunity to be successful is from a strategy level. And then they own it. And so I had a kid that ended up going D1 off this team that won nationals in the 16s. And if he had two up, he could tip over the guy in the left front. If he saw it was open, he'd nail the ball and put the ball away and pick up the setter and usually put the ball away. But he knew the strategy. So when he was in the air, he wasn't thinking just mindlessly, I'm just going to hit the ball. I'm going to do something with the ball and make the most for me and my team to be successful. So looking at other ways to be strategic and mentally strategic. I always told the kids, you can look at me when you make a very strong mental play, but it's a quick glance of affirmations, because I love to see the mental win before the physical. Sometimes we're so attached to the physical success that we lose sight that the mental win was greater than the physical. Physical's the icing on the cake. And so I loved to inflect upon that you outsmarted the other team, and then the physicality might have taken out that, but it was the action of logic and understanding what your opportunity was and how to play the game before it became physical. So that was a huge thing. So I mentioned just a little bit ago on find a source of strength outside of yourself. So Long Beach State guy was my high school coach, and we share a lot of funny philosophical stories, and he remembers things I don't even remember as a player. But he played in the 1974 national championship game. Long Beach State played San Diego State. He ended up stopping playing after that year. And I go, Coach, why'd you stop playing why didn't you play your senior year? And he goes, I couldn't take the negativity of my coach anymore. Couldn't take it anymore. I said, really? I don't think you ever told me that story. I go, now I get it. This is recent. Now I get it, Coach. I said, is that why you always came into the huddle and just smiled and that's all you cared about, is to put a smile on our face in the middle of the chaos in a timeout? Because usually you're getting a timeout, not always because you're playing well or the other team called it. But if we called the timeout, typically something's not going right. He goes, hey, I had to find a way to loosen you guys up and say, okay, let's get rid of strategy. This wasn't working. This wasn't working. How about we do this and this? And then we'd all kind of agree and go, all right, let's go. So he would empower us with positivity in a wildly negative situation, which is why he called the timeout, by first giving facial structure. Think about any coach that goes into these deals. They come in with this super intense, very disappointed, aggravated face and body language. Gosh darn it. As opposed to, okay, we got to awaken the opportunity to say, all right, so we didn't succeed in this moment. Let's figure out a way to be successful moving forward. And you start to set the narrative of adding success into, because that's a positive phrase. We weren't successful here, but let's move forward. Let's figure out what's happening here. Let's get out of the inning. We're having an issue, so let's just put some strategy to it and attach to the strategy that will give them in the best position to be successful to get out of the inning. Let's say you've given up 5 runs and you're going to cry uncle at 6, or whatever it is. The strength in that, in getting outside of yourself to empower those kids to think, we can do this. Put a smile on your face as a coach, let them own it. And that's the strength outside of you to give it to them to go perform at a different level, because you change the tone in the narrative from negative to positive instead of like chirping at these kids. I'll give you a quick example too. When I would play assistant coach and we'd come out of a timeout and the other team called the timeout in volleyball, I'm going to give that as an example. I would get close to the kid that's going to serve, because there's like a 70% chance that kid's going to come out of timeout and miss a serve. That's why you call timeout. You want to disrupt the flow of that team. And I said, hey, let's go. You're doing great. Let's put the ball in play. Not you put the ball in play. You don't personally. Let's put the ball in play. Here we go. Just put it in play, because they're the ones that are almost 70% of the time the kid misses the serve, which is why the other coach called the timeout. So putting positivity into, I know there's a 70% chance you're going to come out of this and do something not where you put the ball in play. Hey, let's put the ball away. Nice job. Here we are. We got the momentum. Let's go. And like you get to that person individually as they're coming out of the deal. That was a technique that I did. And man, most of the time, those kids are putting the ball in play and we're rocking and rolling. So find a source of strength outside of yourself. Is your opportunity to put positivity in maybe a negative situation. Be real with the kids, be real with yourself, but put realistic goals and strategy into, hey, let's come out of this. What can we do different? Here we go. We're in a good place. Keep fighting hard. Love the effort. Positivity in effort will inspire them to perform at a higher level. But when we take negativity in, it drags us down. So we want to put positivity with accountability.
100%. Something that I've picked up on in the last 5-10 years, it's really stood out more and more, that if I look back, I felt as an athlete, and I look back at all the players I've coached, and I can visualize seeing it. The fastest way for us as coaches to get our players to be more athletic, to play faster, play smoother, and more successful is to get them to play free and loose,
Right.
to get them to play free and easy.
Yep.
And how do we do that? Well, I'll tell you one way we don't do that. And I think we should focus more so on what we're doing that tightens them up, that gets their muscles tight, that gets their mind stressed out, worried, looking over their shoulder. And so I think we need to, and the positivity, like you said, Scott, our response to failure, to their failures, our response, our body language, what we say, how we handle a timeout, that is going to push them to play tighter and more restricted. They're not going to be breathing. And you're taking their mindset away from being intellectual and thinking about the game. And it's more about what's coach thinking rather than what should I be thinking about the upcoming play. I think confidence equals two things. On a kind of that first topic you talked about. So this is parallel, but a little different. Confidence, you got me thinking, equals a lot of quality game-like reps, and with challenge. So confidence is like, hey, I've been challenged in practice and that ball was coming at me faster than the typical ball in the game. So a ton of quality game-like reps with challenge. And also back to what you talked about, the intellectual part of the game, knowing the game. Knowing the game intellectually, and also knowing, like, not being like, what do I do? That's stressful when you're like, it's like going into a test, having studied, you're going to be more confident. And so the same thing with the game. So physically getting a lot of quality game-like reps and intellectually knowing the strategy. And you alluded a lot to the strategy. Plus, I would have loved to have played for you as a coach because you would have made the game more interesting because I would be thinking instead of just, why am I here, bored, or negative thinking. Those negative thoughts will creep in, but you were giving your players these intellectual things to kind of think about. I know you got some more points, so I'll pass it back over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go to number 6. So this is a great one. And a lot of times within, once again, corporate world leads to, coaching of players is that there's a lot of head trash. There's notions and assumptions that get built in from our own minds, from our experiences, from our dad, from our moms, from our past coaches, whatever it is. Sometimes you can build up things that get in the way of your opportunity to continuously learn and perform at your best levels, right? So there's a lot of stuff nagging at you. So one of the things that you can use this as a motivation is use old tapes, meaning what's in your brain, what's in your head, and head trash that lies within you as a reminder of what was, and then be strong and faithful as you set the new course and rewrite your beliefs. That could be heavy for a kid, but for a coach, you can sprinkle in, like, there's things I think you're thinking that you have a fear of the ball coming up and getting you in the face on a grounder. If you're attacking the ball and you're using, kind of the old alligator, glove down, hands, and you're really technically sound, there is a low chance that ball is going to come up and tag you. It's going to happen, but for the most part, you're eliminating it by offensively being disciplined in your skill sets to get after those things. So eliminating fear of failure or fear of injury and using it to your advantage to create that new course and rewrite your own beliefs. Hey, I can do this. You can do this. And so that's the inflection of that opportunity. And that also, your mind is so much stronger than the body. I used to have parents come up and sometimes say, wow, I really like you and your other coach and your coaching style. What are you guys doing different? And I said, we believe that if we can get the kid's head, the body follows. We get their head, the body follows. And we work so much on the physical aspect of sports that we forget the most powerful thing on that body is the head. What they believe that they can do gives them the opportunity, most likely, to execute and do that. So that's eliminating head trash of, I can't do this. I'm not very good. I'm not a very good hitter. I can only pitch. I can't field. Whatever this kid might have, what's their head trash? That's why it's so important when I talked earlier about post-practice huddles after a game, out of practice. So you've had 24 hours since you've seen them, or maybe longer. Hey, everybody go around the room with a good, positive voice. What'd you do well? Give me 2 or 3 things you did well. What do you want to work on? That's the inflection of all positivity. But you get the chance to say, I'm not serving very well. I'm not pitching very well. Okay, great. Well, maybe you're dropping your elbow. Maybe you're not pushing off from the rubber. Whatever they might be doing, it's okay, let's work on this. I'm a big believer in coaching. You work feet up. Footwork is everything. As a batter, as a pitcher, as an infielder, as an outfielder. And the greatest thing I learned was, and I'll give you this too from an encouraging level, coaches out there, is that I played 5 different sports going into high school. Played very competitive tennis, competitive volleyball, competitive baseball, competitive basketball, and soccer. And I won I think all 5 of my 8th grade teams won championships that year. I was very blessed to be on some really nice teams. So it was hard going into high school, but there's all of them. I got something different from footwork, soccer, tennis. Every coach I had was very feet minded. And so that's what I coached to. If you watch an infielder, an outfielder, anyone, their footwork is literally everything. And if you concentrate on positivity around what their feet should look like, then the chance of performance is everything, because it's the baseline for all sports. Literally every sport is baseline. Once again, getting rid of head trash of I just can't, and inserting comments like this: is the ball playing you or you playing the ball? Love that phrase, because you're getting into the psyche of I'm letting the ball play me. Okay, so you're giving the ball the advantage. How about you play the ball? Another great phrase I like to give, because it applies to baseball and volleyball and football, everything. Beat the ball to the spot. Don't just get there when the ball arrives. Beat the ball to the spot. So you're inflecting in that kid. Okay, so that means the ball's been hit gap between second base and first base. I'm going to move at the speed of the ball. Well, why don't you move faster than the ball? It's a really weird notion, but a lot of times it's not concentrated on. And it becomes not necessarily head trash in this case, or an old tape of I just can't get there, to I can beat the ball to the spot. And now I'm playing the ball. I'm in a higher chance of success for me and the team to perform and throw that guy out at first because I got to the gap. Let's say the second baseman was moving to his left. So planting seeds of simple ownership comments. Did you beat the ball to the spot? How's that going? Is a way for them to think, yeah, I can get there. Outfielder, same thing. I don't want to just snag the ball outside my body. If I can get behind the ball and catch it in front of me at the head level, and my hand's already ready to grab it in the glove, I can turn and throw. But if I take it, look all fancy, and then I kind of come around and I'm trying to act like I'm all that in a bag of chips, then I might have delayed seconds that I didn't have to, based on being a little bit, showmanship, to really get my feet behind the ball. My right foot's already back if I'm a righty, and I've got that ball. I'm already shifting into catch throw mode, all in the same motion, right? Sometimes we're not helping them hold accountable. Hey, you the cool guy and the warm body on the field or the court? Or you the guy that's exceptional because you're always prepared to put yourself in the best position, not selfish for you, but to perform for the benefit of the team. You're always attaching that to the greater cause, right? It's not about you, it's about we. That great phrase, there's no I in team, right? So phrases like that are good to repeat, to remember how you perform and contribute to the team is what we're all here to do, right? And sometimes those simple notions of higher cause aren't said and done, and then they're not attaching themselves to the greater responsibility of the team by the individual efforts and performance that they have the opportunity to create. So using old tapes in a positive way, meaning there's head trash. Okay, I'm going to use that I'm always going to beat the ball to the spot, right? I'm always going to be the guy diving into second head first, because I never want to be thrown out if I'm, stealing the base. I'm always giving some form of an effort, and you left it on the field, you left it on the court, right? The new course is to rewrite your beliefs of what you're capable of. That, as a coach, is a great way to get that kid, the worst guy on the team, all he can do is bunt. You are the best bunter. You always move the hitter. You're phenomenal. We're going to get you fielding in a stronger way, running the bases with more confidence and speed, really hitting that inside foot. So when you plant it first, that left foot plants, and man, you're gone. Like, you're giving him positive visuals, because it's a very visual sport. If you can't visualize what you're trying to extend yourself to, then your old tapes and your kind of head trash kind of live in this land of I'm not so sure. And what we want to do is give them opportunities as players in a positive way to figure out how to extend what their opportunities look like in a positive way.
Something you said there, and I'd like to hit on this real quick for all the listeners too, and just to kind of bring it back. You said, is the ball playing you or are you playing the ball? And this is a slogan that could be used everywhere in life, but all throughout sports. And what do I mean by that is, are you on the offense or are you on the defense? It's a proactive mindset versus a reactive mindset. And a proactive mindset, let me give you a volleyball example, because my daughter's really into volleyball. Yesterday, we were in the backyard, and she just went to the Boise State volleyball camp. So she's down there for the morning, and she gets home. She wants to show me her overhand serve. She smokes a couple. I mean, she gets pretty close, and I'm thinking, okay, and she smokes a couple right at me.
Sure.
Now, mind you, I had scholarship offers for tight end to every school in the country. I can catch a ball. And the volleyball's about the same size. She hits a couple at me, and I'm like, oh, man. And so my mindset on the third hit was, am I going to catch this? Is it going to go past me? I want to set a good example for my daughter of how to, I don't want to look goofy.
Sure.
And I'm like, wait a second. That's not me. I flipped the script. The ball was playing me, Scott. I'm almost 45 years old. The ball was playing me. I have all this skill. I played professional baseball, and it was still, my mind went to let the ball play me. And so I had to literally go, no, no, no. I'm playing the ball, and I'm gonna snag. And you know what I said, Scott? I said, how quick can I catch this ball out in front of me? Not can I get it before it goes past me? How fast can I catch this ball, and how clean can I catch it? Guess what, Scott? Immediately, I was catching the ball clean. I was catching it a foot out in front of me rather than like juggling it as it, bobbling it. It's so interesting that you said this, because this is something that is the pitcher, are you reacting to the pitch, or are you proactively hunting that pitch? And I think this is something as coaches we can instill in our players. And so anyways, I think that's fascinating. Did you want to add to that? I just feel like this is a fascinating topic. I know we got some more to get to, but is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned, and I didn't know that about you on the football side, so I love hearing that. I almost went out for the UCLA football team, and I would have played with Dave Norrie and a guy named Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman had an okay career. But one of the things from a belief system, really, in head trash standpoint, I wanted to make the point is a guy named Denny Klein recruited me to UCLA, and 17, 18 years old. And he writes me this gorgeous letter. I still have it on UCLA, deal. And it was handwritten. It was pretty funny. And he ended up telling me that I was one of the best athletes he ever recruited. And I didn't remember this. And I ran into him about 5-10 years ago. And he goes, yeah, you were, I go, man, it's been a long time. I go, I was pissed at you because he got into Bolt Law School to get his law degree and left after he signed me. And he had already won 7 national titles, 3 as a player, 4 as a coach. So he's got 7 rings. And I said, I was so mad you were gone because, man, I couldn't wait to play for you, not necessarily the head coach. You and I really connected. But for me, the head trash was not, as an athlete, things can creep in. You get injuries. You may not play with the chemistry is wrong, but there's a lot that goes in to that athlete. There could be things going on at home. There could be things going on at school that are positive or negative. There could be things going on within the teams you're on. And so getting out of your own headspace as a coach and thinking about the things that are happening within those kids and the head trash that can build and the old tapes that they're telling them, I can't do this, I can't do that, is your opportunity to pull them into an understanding how they think and really get into their psyche, because the psyche is where it's won and lost. And that's why I gave you the story a minute ago, which is if you can get their head in a positive way to follow a plan and goals, that they're self-motivated and they're motivated with the team, then that head trash goes away and it becomes motivations of, I'm not going to think this way. I know I can put myself in a position. And really, our goals as coaches is to put them in the best position to take some risk and figure out a way to be successful in performing at the things that they do. That's our opportunity. And when we shame them or get frustrated and they just see you angry and mad or disappointed, that's pulling the air out of their sails. And so you want to be the guy that's realistic, and gal, if you're gal coaching, and blowing realistic air into their sails that they can get across the ocean with the talents and the God-given gifts. And some kids you're going to get more effort than you're going to get talent. Sometimes you're going to have kids that just mentally don't have the right firing moments, so to speak. Some people have phenomenal hands, but they don't have good feet. You're going to get a combination of what I call Heinz 57 of everything. And as you assess talent, that's what you coach to. Build on the great, help them with the things that maybe fall short. And a guy like Denny Klein, like I said, phenomenal coach, phenomenal player, he reaffirmed for even me that I was better than I remember. It's fun to know that, but sometimes in the moment, it doesn't feel that way. And so having somebody that's mentoring you and affirming positivity with constructive criticism is the moment of your impact on that person's life as a mentor and a coach. Keep that in mind every time you're communicating with kids. It's a great opportunity to extend positivity, but realism at the same time.
The one question that I get, or the hesitation that seems to come to mind for a lot of coaches, Coach Scott or Coach Bo, if I pump up my players and I give them this, are they going to not listen to me? Is it going to blow up their ego? And first off, I don't think that's the problem. And I think what the disconnect is between having high standards, high expectations, having discipline and building confidence are separate. Having a team that's coachable and having players that are disciplined and having a team that hustles, that's due to the expectations and the team culture that you've set forth. That's separate than pumping up a player and having them be
That's
confident.
right. Great words. Absolutely. I love how this is phrased. Be grateful for every lesson that you receive. Be grateful for every lesson you receive. So disappointment is usually always followed by greatness. Think about that. Take the lesson with grace and humility. This is coaches and players. If we're expecting coachability, we've got to be in the same mindset, a great mindset to do this. So it was interesting. I had the great fortune of knowing somebody, and I was working with him as well, that was a member at Augusta National. They hold a little golf tournament. And a couple of years ago, I was there with another guy that I was working with. So we were there as kind of the SWAT team before the tournament started. That's when a lot of the business goes down at the Masters. And this very familiar guys. And when I was with, we were both on members passes. So we were able to approach everything that you could believe as far as golfers and members, and everybody standing around their green jackets. It's pretty funny moment. But you see this guy over there and I'm standing with a guy named John Colasar. John Colasar was #1 target at Michigan and then played for the Buffalo Bills with Jim Kelly as a wide receiver. So great athlete. It ran like the wind. And so our member says, hey, you can approach anybody. Everybody's approached for him. And so we walked up to a guy named Lou Holtz. You might have known who Lou Holtz is. He coached a couple of football teams, might have been Notre Dame coach. Great human. But I don't know him, right? So John and I walk up. I'm 6'4", he's 6'1". Lou Holtz is about 5'7". I mean, it felt like a movie scene, right? So we walk up and we're like, and so John knows him. And, he doesn't assume he knows him. He says, Coach, it was nice to meet you. John Colasar, this is my buddy. He was a volleyball player. I was a football player. He goes, really? He goes, well, great to meet you guys. You enjoying this? He goes, we're enjoying it. He goes, so John goes, so Coach, I might have been the guy that caught the winning touchdown for Michigan the first time you played Michigan as the head coach of Notre Dame. And Lou Holtz grabs him on the side of the shoulders and shakes him and says, you're the one that did it. And we start busting up. And so this level of humility and gratefulness, like, eluded itself. So moving forward, he says, well, you played for one of the best guys in the world, Bo Schembechler. And he says, well, Coach, I played on an all-star team later that year for you. I don't know if you remember me. He goes, now you say your name. It is coming back, believe me. And I said, you gave this rally cry of a speech at halftime at an all-star game that I'll never forget. It was one of the most inspiring speeches, and it was an all-star game. There was nothing at stake, right? It was an all-star game. And my point here is that he was so grateful for us walking up and interacting with him that his humility wouldn't allow him to acknowledge this deal. And he goes, well, who was the best halftime and the best rally cry speaker was your coach, Bo Schembechler. And he kept deferring back to Bo and not taking it on easily could have taken on for his ego and his success. He wasn't going to allow it. And it was just really interesting to watch that he kept deferring. So the level of humility is a form of strength. And you could tell that everything that came across him was his ability to have a lesson that you receive and be grateful in that moment. And he was just grateful for the interaction, grateful to be able to promote somebody else and not himself. And I think that level of humility is more attractive ever than somebody breaking their arm, patting themselves on the back, which becomes a very egocentric way of how coaches sometimes lose sight that it's not about them, it's about the greater cause. And some have a high level of humility and many don't. But it was just an affirmation from a very well-known guy and just enjoying the moment of watching this interacting, knowing I was just meant to be front row in this 3-person conversation and not say much. I didn't need to. I was enjoying the interaction of humility and success. I was grateful. And I think if you're in a grateful mindset, to be an active listener. And sometimes as coaches, we talk so much, we lose sight of the active opportunity to listen, extend that. Hey, Billy did really great job, but I loved what John did today. And you're extending and pushing out, even if they're complimenting you as a coach, say, hey, kids did great today. Humility. So that was a big lesson in taking any disappointments and turning them into greatness as your opportunity as a coach to turn a negative into a positive and think about that actively so that the negativity of what sports can do. Hey, we got blown out 20-2 today. Was it one of those days that the kids weren't tuned in? Did you have the wrong lineup out? I don't know, but it's a planned experiment. It's a game. We need to not take things too serious as long as we're doing the basic goals and objectives that we've set for the team. And we feel good about the effort and the mental focus that we put into it. And sometimes it's not going to work out. So once again, be grateful for every lesson that you receive because it is a gift and an opportunity for you to grow and learn, not even just as a coach, but to extend that to the players or vice versa.
All right, that wraps up part 2 of our interview. We'll be back next week for the third and final part. The week after that, I have not just the top 5 coaching posts of the month, the top 7 coaching posts of the month. So we have 2 bonus posts as seen on X. I curate these, and these are loaded with wisdom to help us be not just good coaches, but great coaches. So we'll get to that in 2 weeks. But next week, part 3 of our interview, and it finishes strong. And until then, head over to 8020baseball.com. It is loaded. The free drill design guide, the coaching plan, which in my opinion is one of a kind, optimized for efficiency so you can be a great coach as fast as possible. There's also articles, videos, all there, 8020baseball.com. Let's keep taking care of our health so we can be at our best for our families, close friends, our team, our kids. Let's take this information that we heard from Scott. Let's go put it into play. And y'all take care. Until next week, adios.
This has been the 80/20 Baseball Podcast, the 80/20 Baseball Masterclass. We got this. Now, let's take the field.